This is the voice of the New York Football Giants, Bob Papa, and you are listening to the best throughout Europe, the Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast.
Go New York, go New York, go. Go New York, go New York, go.
That's not cool, lads. Not cool.
How are you feeling, Kev? Welcome back, Giants fans, to the latest edition. Look at the balloons as well. There we go. Welcome back, Giants fans, to the latest edition of the Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast. Proudly in association with Annie's Man Club. Lads, remember, it is okay to talk. Knicks are 2-0. Is that not right, Kev?
It's cold. Let me get this out for you, lads.
How you feeling? Tonight we are 67% British, 33% Irish, but as always, we are still 100% Giants, even though we're not 100% Knicks right now. We're back this evening to take a deeper dive at our day 3 picks as we selected 4 players on the final day of this year's draft in Green Bay, and also a closer look at some of the undrafted free agents as well that we picked up afterwards. Back with me this evening to go through all of this is Shane and Kev. Boys, how we doing?
Happy days, you know. I mean, you've seen the Celtics have choked a 20-point lead at home twice. Okay, I mean, I will ask you. The Knicks are 2-0. The Knicks are 2-0. It's a best of 7 series with the next 2 games at MSG. You worried about a landslide at all?
No, because we are road warriors and we've got the best road record in the whole league this season. So I think we'll win at least 1. We'll need to win 2. I think we'll win 1. And I hope we win 2. It makes Saturday night's game 8:30 massive for us this Saturday.
Yeah, it's a massive game. It is a big game. Looking forward to that one, that's for sure. And yeah, thanks, Holty. Aren't we all? I'll take it off now.
Do you know what? It's like my ex has been just appalling for the last couple of days because I follow so many Giant accounts and whatnot.
Yeah,
obviously the Giants are linked to the Knicks, like so. Yeah, it's just been seeing all my sort of like people I follow and friends on X sort of like bigging up the old Knicks wins. And I have to say, fair play. You know, to come back from 20 points down in both games is a phenomenal turnaround. But, you know, surely we can't play that bad 3 games in a row, can we?
When you said you X the last few days, I was thinking, you X me. See, that's all. I was like, what's going on here? Is she a Knicks fan or something?
But no, I mean, I'm not surprised, Kev. I'm not surprised you've been feeling it the last couple of days, obviously after last night as well. But it is all still to play for. You know, it's only 2 games into the series, so, you know, all it takes is 1 game to get back into it, right? So there's still plenty to play for. And like you said, the Celtics have been good on the road this year, so it's not over by any stretch of the imagination. Bilbao have scored, damn it.
Can't believe you did that to me. I've had such a good day today as well. I've been, you know, down in London for the Lions squad announcement. Had a great day down there. Just been round to see a good mate of mine, Simon, who, by the way, is an excellent cook, and he's cooked me a lovely curry. So after this, I'm going to tuck into that curry tonight, and I cannot wait. Yeah, I'm having a brilliant day, lads. I'm talking to you guys about the draft, and you're going through that at me. What's that about?
Come on, Kev, let's be honest. If you do turn it round, I'm sure you're going to be getting your own back, and you'll be doing it as well.
Absolutely.
Maybe.
You absolutely will. You know you will.
Most of this.
I'm going to have a few beers Saturday night watching in the man cave watching the game. If we win that one, you might get a few messages.
Yeah, no, I can imagine, and I'm sure you probably will, Kev. So, like I said, it's still all to play for, so it's definitely not over by any stretch of the imagination. Obviously, if you are watching live tonight on YouTube, X, Twitch, Facebook, whichever platform you're on, get involved in the comments, send us your questions, give us your opinions, let us know what you think of Scatterboo Mania, and obviously all the other draft picks and undrafted free agents as well. And don't forget to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already, and feel free to leave us a review on your platform of choice. Now, before we get cracking with that Scatterboo Mania and the rest of the draft picks, we thought it was only fair that following all of the hype and excitement around the draft, that we here on the Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast make a little draft pick of our own. What?
I'm waiting for the diddle-loo.
Yeah, we need that little jingle, don't we? We need the little jingle.
Probably.
So yeah, we've decided to make a little draft pick of our own, and with the latest draft pick you've ever seen in your life, as in we're now 2 weeks removed from round one of the draft. With the latest draft pick you've ever seen in your life, the Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast select Aaron Mayo Gilbraith, offensive line guru of the Bristol Aztecs. Welcome to the crew, Aaron. How you doing, mate? Also, Aaron or Mayo? Aaron or Mayo? Which would you prefer, Aaron or Mayo?
I've made it to the big leagues.
Cha-ching!
And you've got to put your draft cap on. I'm feeling a little bit left out, Dan and Shane. So,
Oh, there you go.
nice colour
There you
scheme.
The orange and blue. Look at that, eh? Blending in nicely. Welcome aboard, Aaron. I love it. I love it. Even got an orange and blue ball as well. Look at that, eh?
Wow.
He's getting on point with the colours. I love it. Hello,
Disrespect
mate.
is
How you
real.
doing? How you doing, man? You good?
Yeah, really good. Lovely to be invited to be part of the team and continue to talk more Giants. What more could a man want?
Absolutely. Obviously, it's not the first time we've had you on. Obviously, we had you on during the off-season interview series last year, and you've been on a couple of shows recently, obviously with the live stream as well during the draft. And we had some sort of lengthy discussions between us, and we decided to bring you in not just as a temporary thing, but as a sort of a permanent member of the crew. So it is good to have you on board, and we look forward to obviously having you on many a podcast with us in the future.
I love that. It was like having him in for like a 30 visit, and we met him at the combine and stuff. And we had to get back into the war room, and we hashed it all out, and we decided he would fit into the culture that we're trying to build here at Big Blue UK and Ireland.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there was no behind the scenes video of the phone call that took place or anything. I mean, we could probably just screenshot to the chat if people really wanted it. There's no phone call that will be showing behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, we could always do some magic with Photoshop and things like that. I can be on the phone and whatever if needs be. If that's what the viewers want, we can try and work that out. But
I can tell one thing's for sure. When you gave me the playbook with the mistakes in it, I made sure I corrected them and submitted my homework back off the screen. I wasn't gonna throw my toys out of the pram when you questioned me on it.
Good lad, I like that.
I mean, people already want to know about your workout for us, Aaron. I mean, what 40 times did you run?
Well, you see, I pulled a London, Drake London here, and just didn't need to run it. I was obviously talented enough, didn't need to post the time. So, and I'm not sure you have a fourth digit on your stopwatch.
I mean, me and you both, mate. I'd fully be in 4 digits. So there's no way that I'd run 40 yards in less than 10 seconds. That ain't happening anytime soon.
I got a fast this time.
Yes, that's the time we need the 40. We're not going to talk 40 pints, so maybe
40 ounces.
40 ounces of beer. How quickly can you drink 40? That's a great shout, isn't it? How quickly can you drink 40 ounces of beer? Maybe we should do that next meetup.
Yeah, that's the combine, the next meetup.
That's our combine, yeah, 40 ounces of beer. You may be onto something there. I like it. Now, obviously, for the viewers and listeners to get to know you a little bit better, if they didn't watch your episode back in the summer last year, we're just going to have sort of a few quick fire questions coming your way. Are you ready to rock, Aaron?
Yeah, let's go.
Cool. So, first question we ask everybody that comes on this podcast is why the Giants, essentially.
Yeah, so it goes back to sort of 2001, and when Sky only usually showed one game a week or whatever, and the first game I watched, it happened to be the Giants against the Vikings in the playoff game, and the Giants blew out the Vikings to make the Super Bowl, and then I was too young to stay up and watch the Super Bowl, and I picked up a copy of Madden at Christmas, Madden 2001 or Madden 2000, something like that, back in the day on the PlayStation, and got to pick a team. So the only team I knew about was the New York Giants because that was the only game I'd ever watched. So played that, learn all the players. As soon as that, I'm hooked. Next time the season's on, followed the season religiously ever since then. So yeah, that's quite simply how I fell into the Giants.
Nice. So almost a quarter of a century of a lot of suffering.
Yeah, there's some high points in there as well, but yeah.
Absolutely. There's some high points in there. Favorite current player then?
Yeah, I think I definitely associate with the big boys. So Sexy Dexy is my pin up on the wall. Is the guy that he's come on leaps and bounds from when he was drafted. He was, obviously came in a draft class as not the only first round pick. Much like this year, we had multiple guys in the first round that year, and has just absolutely stood out as the best giant on the roster, probably one of the longest serving giants now on our roster, and
Yep.
just that leader on defense. He's a multi-time Pro Bowler. He's the guy that on this team, if anybody is going to have their jersey retired so that we run out of numbers, it's going to be Dexter Lawrence.
Yeah, I mean they've got to start thinking about that and retiring jerseys, haven't they? Like, because we are going to run out of numbers at some point.
Yeah.
All right, favorite all-time player then?
Yeah. So I think obviously Eli. You can't have a conversation about Eli. I watched him drafted and watched his entire career as a Giant, and I think just after he's gone, his reputation's gone up even more because you kind of realize how much of a pillar of the Giants' success he was over that period. Just, the stat that stands out the most is the consecutive start streak, right? As we've seen what it's like when you don't have a fit quarterback, even if your quarterback is, average starter, if he's not available, how it drops off. And he just, never missed a game until they pulled him for playing Geno Smith.
I will never, ever, ever live that down either and forget that. That was just abysmal decision that was. Favourite all-time game then?
Yeah, so probably in that first season I started watching them and we made the playoffs and we were playing Philadelphia and the famous play from that game is the Jason Sehorn pick six. And just that play, that moment. We've had some awful games against Philly, but that one just stands out as, in the playoffs, that game was really, really up there. Obviously the Super Bowl as well. So the first Super Bowl win against the undefeated Patriots side. And at the time there was the Sky Sports put on an event in London called the Super Bash. Again,
Super Bash. Were you there?
I was there.
No,
the Super Bash.
I was there as well, and Kev was there as well.
Yeah,
Come
awesome.
on.
Yeah, so obviously Vernon Kay hosted it and all of that.
Yes, he did.
Good stuff, and
who was there? Yeah. Who was there? What players were there? I can't remember. Players were there.
The Colts tight end was there. Trying to think. He won the Super Bowl previously with Manning. He was there. Trying to think of his name now. Can't think of his name, but he was massive. I remember I just remember the chant, the Giants before they scored the Plexico Burress touchdown. The whole crowd obviously was pro Giants because unless you were a Patriots fan, they like the Chiefs now back then. But so it cut to an ad break and the whole room started shouting, "Let's go Giants!" And the whole room was
Ben Utrecht.
That's it, Ben Utrecht. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the whole room was "Let's go Giants." Then the pass to Plexico Burress to get the go-ahead touchdown, and it was couldn't have been any better. So
that place, that was Battersea Park, wasn't it? I believe.
Yeah, Battersea Park. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I had to catch I had a bus. I had to wait for 6 a.m. to catch a National Express out of Victoria to get back to Bristol. So yeah, that was good fun.
Wow, I think we drove into Battersea, and so we were out fairly quick, but I think it was still fairly late that we got back back home. But yeah, so 3 of us were at the Super Bash. There you go. Love that. And lastly, then any Giants games that you've attended? What games that you attended in person? In the States.
So I've had all the tickets to all of the ones in London and in obviously we were all in Munich. Or Shane didn't make it, but the rest of us were in Munich. And then I have been once to the US to see the Giants. My housemate at the time was an Atlanta Falcons fan, so we went to Atlanta to the old Atlanta Stadium, and we got like 46-0. And yeah, I was not good company for my mate in there the next couple of days. But interesting thing, we managed to, it happened to be the time that it was the high school state championships. It was the Georgia State Championships the day before we went into the stadium, watched some of the state championships, and one of the superstars in those games was a very young Alvin Kamara.
Oh, no way. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So
wow, so yeah, that's a while back as well then. Wow.
Yeah.
Cool. So, but you've never been to MetLife?
Never been to MetLife. No. Obviously on the to-do list.
That will no doubt happen over the coming years with you being associated with this podcast. So watch the space for that. Awesome. All right, sweet. So a nice little bit to sort of getting to know Aaron. Obviously, he'll be with us sort of throughout the off season and into the season as well as a permanent member of the crew, like I said. So there'll be plenty of time for viewers and listeners to get to know him a bit more. Obviously, we will put up on our socials that you're now part of the crew, and obviously people can find where you're at on X and stuff like that. So if they want to give you a follow, they can do. But it's good to have you on board, my friend, and we're looking forward to having you with us.
I am happy as well to pass over the old like guru thing like that. That's something that, you know, it's close to my heart and it means a lot, but sometimes you just have to hold your hands up and realise when there's a better man in the room that's more suited and experienced to it. So I'm happy to hand that over to Aaron.
Passing the torch, Shane, right?
Yeah,
Passing
exactly. Exactly, that's what it is.
Yeah, I got big shoes to fill.
Yeah, them size 4s that I wear, massive.
Yeah, you know what they say about big shoes as well, right?
Big socks.
Big socks, exactly that. Get the mind out of the gutters, listeners and viewers. Come on. But yeah, so obviously, like I said, great to have you on board with us. Looking forward to having you on plenty of episodes in the future. And yeah, good to have you. All right. Cool. Set yourself in and let's get cracking. First up, we're going to talk about episode 1 of Giant Life that went live this afternoon. I think 2-3 o'clock this afternoon. It went live on YouTube. Now, we didn't get these last year, obviously, because of Hard Knocks. So it's kind of nice to have them back. But as usual, it's not long enough. And we want more. We want more. I think this first episode is 12-13 minutes long. Focusing on the process of taking Abdul Carter number 3 overall. Getting to see some inside footage of his combine interview, top 30 visit. Brief glimpse inside the Giants' war room on draft night with Joe Shane on the phone to Tennessee to see if they're going to move from it, and they decide they're not, and you know they kind of knew that obviously he was going to go number 1, and they had a fairly good inkling that Travis Hunter was going to go number 2. So I think they had their eye on Abdul Carter for a while, and it fell nicely to them. If you haven't watched it yet, obviously, like I said, you probably won't be surprised to hear it isn't long enough. But there will be more episodes to come. Boys, what has stood out for you, Shane? Start with you.
Just kind of the process that I did in regards to Abdul. I mean, I do kind of wonder if they had very similar tape for Travis Hunter, if Abdul Carter had gone at number 2, and if that may be a similar process that had followed. It wasn't as fun as last year's Hard Knocks. I know it was controversial to a lot of people, and you know, some teams, well, all teams have now decided they're not going to be taking part in the behind the scenes off season of Hard Knocks, which I do genuinely think is a shame. You know, we can debate it back and forth all day long if the Giants looked good or not on it, but I actually enjoyed like the detail that we had in Hard Knocks. Like you say, you know, it just wasn't long enough. And to me, the main thing I took away is that I'm kind of looking forward to seeing the next couple of episodes that come out and the stuff that we did with Dart and all the other guys that we drafted as well, and kind of see what things are revealed that maybe we were unaware of. Yeah,
definitely. Kev?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it's a great watch, and like at only 13 minutes, you know, you're 100% right, Dan. It's definitely not long enough. But I love these. Like every team is starting to do them, and it's a great behind-the-scenes look. One of the ones it was very Abdul Carter eccentric. Obviously, you know, they'll go into Dart and other players later on. But I think one of the things I loved seeing it was was Abdul Carter and his family when they were like, and Drew Rosenhaus when they were like making their way to Giants Stadium. They were saying like, the Giants was their number one spot they wanted to go to. And I fully believe that as well. Like, although they are from Philly and Philly sports fans and stuff like that, like I fully believe that they really wanted New York. Like, top 5 pick, you want to be high, don't you? But yeah, it was really good seeing that, and he comes from good stock, and I just think it's going to work out for him. I mean, the interviews as well, like on the whiteboard and stuff like that. Just hearing him speak, he's not over elaborate. He's not like fancy. He's not like in your face like that. He's all about ball. He's all about business. And I mean, he wants to be here, and by God, do we want him here as well?
Yeah, definitely. Aaron, what do you make of it? And also, going back to obviously what Shane was saying about Hard Knocks, just briefly as well, what did you make of Hard Knocks last year?
Yeah, well, I struggled to be able to watch it. So that was the worst thing. It was
a nightmare, wasn't it?
It wasn't on the Zone or Sky or anything, so it was real difficult to watch, which is crazy because all the other even in-season Hard Knocks and obviously the training camp ones fully on the Zone. So I don't know what was going with that, but yeah, I think it's one of those that obviously they dramatise the thing and it dramatised the whole Barkley thing and this, that, and the other. But how much of it, was the real thing, and you don't see him signing all the other guys and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was nice. It's nice to always have that insight. There was another show maybe 5 or 6 years ago, Finding Giants, going out on the road with the scouts a little bit, and again, that's really interesting. I could watch that all day. Wouldn't even have to be the Giants. Any of the NFL teams seeing their kind of process stuff, and in the background, really, really interesting because that's the bit that you don't. There isn't that much content on.
You don't see any of that, really, do you?
I think that Finding Giants was a brilliant show, and well done, Aaron, for bringing it up because that was very, very good. That was quite long as well. There's a good few parts to it, and that was the Odell Beckham draft.
Yeah.
So good to see the drafting Odell Beckham, which is 12 years ago now. Yeah. But for anyone on YouTube, you can't find it. It's still on YouTube now. Go find Finding Giants. It really is a good watch.
Yeah, give it a watch. But going back to Giants Life episode 1, what did you make of it? What was stand out for you?
Yeah, I loved it. So yeah, I agree with Kev, the point on the family and Drew Rosenhaus, really cool little pieces. Obviously, Drew Rosenhaus is like the super agent, and the fact that he chose Carter and the Giants to come and visit like day after the draft is like quite an interesting piece. The O-line outside linebacker room was really, really interesting. So I did freeze frame it and watch what they were drawing up on the board, and they actually have talking about Carter playing the 4-eye position over the guard with Kayvon number 5 written next to him, 97 and 0. So he's already there. This before they've drafted him, saying, "Look, we plan on putting all 4 of you on the field together, even when we can't rush 5." But the idea of having the 4 of them in the right setup, saying, "Right, yeah, we're going to put you on there. We know that Dex is going to get the double team. So by being one-on-one with the guard, we know you're one-on-one. We expect you to beat him," and that kind of stuff going in there. And again, asked them to learn. Say, we need you to play all 5 positions. So obviously they at times will go into a 3 front instead of the 4 front. 3 with the 2 outside linebackers wanting to learn all the positions. Abdul Carter saying, "Yeah, I'm quite happy to learn all 5 and any more that you've got for me." So yeah, really, really. See him taking part of that front 7, that NASCAR package, then positionless kind of front 7 on the passing downs. Be really interesting to see where we can go with it.
Yeah, and obviously, like it's well documented that he can drop into coverage as well. So it's going to be really interesting to see all of that. But yeah, I think he just came across as just an ultimate professional and someone that just wants to come in and learn. They said what was the question about what he wants to be as what rookie does he want to be or something like that, and it was almost like, well, I'm not there yet. He said obviously I'll be there when I get there, and then it's all about sort of learning on from that, and it's sort of like he just seems like really well grounded, and the parents they've funneled him in the right direction. They've focused him in the right, and he just seems like a really good kid, and I can't wait to see him on the field. I really can't. I'm so so looking forward to week 1. Obviously, we'll find out who we've got in week 1 next week.
Oh, we all know.
I'm so looking forward to week 1.
It's always the
Cowboys. Cowboys on the road, probably. Yeah.
Sometimes maybe that win against the Colts wasn't that bad, in the end. We'll see.
There we go. Exactly that. If we'd lost that game, would we have Abdul Carter? Maybe we would, but maybe we wouldn't at the same time. But yeah, I think I just wish rather than being 13 minutes, it was 30 minutes, because there's so much more they could obviously they're not going to show loads more, but it's just almost like it's such a tease, isn't it? It's like, just give us a little bit more, please, every week. But what are you expecting to see from episode 2? Bit of Jackson Dart?
Yeah. They sort of teased it, didn't they, with Dart in there at the same time. So yeah, I think Jackson Dart episode 2, and then maybe we'll get an omnibus for the rest of the class afterwards.
Oh, an omnibus edition. I'd like that, Kev. Episode 2, Jackson Dart, got to be, surely.
It has to be, yeah. And I'm really looking forward to that one because, we all like. I am on the Jackson Dart tree, and I'm on the Dart. I am on it, mate. I'm 100% back in this guy. Don't want to see him this year. Want to see him sit, obviously. But and don't forget as well, rookies report tomorrow. So we should over the next few days get some more press conferences and stuff like that. So that should ease the appetite a little bit.
Yeah, Shane, looking forward to seeing a bit more behind the scenes of the trade and how that happened.
Yeah, definitely. I have already kind of seen some stuff with Houston speaking about. They had a couple of other options available and that. But I think you'll see. I wouldn't suppose you get one episode for purely on Dart, then maybe you'll get one episode where it'll be split between, say, 2 other guys, and then kind of episode 4 will be split to the back guys. I don't know how many episodes are kind of planning on doing. But speaking of kind of some of that stuff we spoke about, did you guys see? I'm just going to load up, see if it was confirmed at all. Alexander's rumoured to take number 91.
Ooh, no, didn't see that.
Justin Tuck number. Good
Justin
man.
Tuck's number, yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
just to see 91 back on the D line.
He's posted on his Instagram story a photo of his locker at MetLife Stadium, and it's got Darius Alexander 91.
Yeah,
so it looks like
he's
taking that number.
Yeah, that'd be good to see 91 back on the D line. He just needs the grill now. He just needs the grill like Justin Tuck had. That was some grill, wasn't it? I hope you really enjoyed episode 1. Yeah, mate, we all agree. You want more. It wasn't long enough. Boo Giants, not long enough. I mean, we got Hard Knocks last year. We can't really complain too much. But yeah, episode 2. Say again.
We most certainly can.
I mean, yeah, we absolutely can. We won't get any more, but we can absolutely expect it. But episode 2, I don't know if it will come next week. It might come next week, might come in a couple of weeks, who knows? But obviously, when it does come, we'll be watching, and we'll give you our lowdown on what we think of it. All right then, day 3 picks, Scatterboo Mania. What? Cam Scatterboo, and obviously the other guys as well. As Shane and Aaron weren't here last week, we thought we'd sort of let them talk through the day 3 picks, give us their views on the guys that Shane and Dave's opted for. Obviously, myself and Kev kind of gave our view a little bit on the last week. Obviously, we'll still get involved, but Shane and Aaron is kind of your take on them. First off, obviously, Cam Scatterboo, pick 105 in the 4th round. Shane, your thoughts on him, my friend?
Yes, so obviously, they drafted Cam Scatterboo out of Arizona, 5'9.5" tall. I don't know how much that half is important, but 219 pounds as well. He finished 5th in Heisman voting. He's the 3rd running back that this regime has drafted, and it's the 3rd year in a row they've drafted a running back now. So they're obviously trying to take swings on getting them, day 3 running backs and hoping one sticks, which you kind of got no issues with that. That's what you kind of hope for him to do. He averaged 4.09 yards after contact in college, along with 103 forced missed tackles. He's the first player since Christian McCaffrey back in 2015 to total the college season with over 1,500 rushing yards and over 500 receiving yards. And he was also second behind Ashton Genty in both rushing yards from scrimmage and total yards from scrimmage as well. So I've seen quite a few people. I can't think who it was who I was listening to on podcast the other day, but they said I think it might have been the football group, maybe on Giants Nation, but someone said that they watched Aston Gentry's tape and then they watched Cam Scatterboo straight afterwards, and the similarities are like, you know, the only thing that's kind of missing is the speed. They lost the Peach Bowl against Texas due to double overtime, but he was named the Peach Bowl offensive MVP, and I think that's quite something, you know, to be on the losing team and get the offensive MVP voted for you. He had in that game 30 carries for 143 yards, 2 touchdowns, 8 catches for 99 yards, and even threw a 42-yard touchdown as well. So, you know, you can kind of understand as to why he got that MVP. Now, in terms of the player that he is, you know, everyone's seen the highlights. He's a player who invites contact. He loves contact. He used to run into telegraph poles as a kid to invite contact. And it can be a good thing and a bad thing at the NFL. The one element that won't be his game, though, as I say, he's not very athletic, so he's not going to be ripping off a 25, 30, 40-yard run to the house because he's going to get caught. But I don't believe the Giants have drafted him to be that type of player. He's 100% being drafted as a compliment to Tyrone Tracy. Now, in terms of the floor for Scat, I think the floor for him will be limited to goal line work and short yardage situations. You know, you kind of got that 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. You want to use him to get that yardage because that's kind of his game type. But you know, it's going to be up to him to show he can be relied on for more than just that in them situations, and it's going to start in training camp and pre-season, and you know, continuing to show the impressive pass blocking that he demonstrated at the collegiate level as well. So, Kev, I'm going to come to you with a question. You had Genty as RB6. Am I right in saying that?
Scatterboo is RG6.
Yeah.
RB6. Yeah.
Well, if you had Genty as 6, fucking hell. Was it just the lack of speed that stopped him cracking into your top 5, or was there something else on tape that kind of meant he didn't get into your top 5?
100% the lack of home run speed. That was it.
Yeah, I think if he had that speed in his game, he potentially goes RB2 off the board.
I mean,
or Maureen Hampton.
Oh, some of the stats you brought out there are fantastic. Like you say, 103 missed tackles, second only to Genty. Like I saw a line that someone was describing him, and I just, it sticks in my head. It just basically was like, Cam Scatterboo is a touchdown scoring, tackle breaking machine. And that's exactly what it is. And to get him where we got him is phenomenal. I mean, I'm a bit miffed that, you know, you haven't talked about Cam Scatterboo, the punter, to be honest, considering, you know, he has punted 8 times in 2023 and averaged 41.9 net yards per punt, which is ranked 20th with players 5+ punts.
I figured that something's gone wrong if Cam Scatterboo's punting for us. But Dan, I'll come to you after I've gone to Aaron, both of you for the same question. Obviously, last year, Tracy's our RB1, and you'd imagine Singletary's initially going to be on the depth chart as RB2. How long do you think it'll be till Cam takes over that RB2 role from Singletary, if you think he even does?
Yeah, so I think the key for any rookie wanting to get regular snaps is protecting the football. So that's going to be really, really key to him getting time. But I think coming in, you will be expecting him to take that RB2 role, or at least 1B role, as soon as, you know, early in the season. I think we saw Singletary he's reliable, but he's not dynamic. He's, you know, another year older on him and everything else. But Scatterboo is the thunder to Tracy's lightning. You know, he is that different element, and you know, physical. You know, if a team's going to stack the box against us, short yardage, all that kind of thing, you're going to bring this guy in. But not only that, he is a passing, receiving threat as well. So yes, you might not want to run a swing, toss sweep with him, but you can get him out on a screen pass or a thing, and he can be effective and dynamic in that kind of space. So I don't think it'll be long until he's 1B, and we'll have this committee running backs, which I think, and he's that kind of David Montgomery in the Lions. That's probably the best comparison to him. Lots of comparisons go Michael Stott and Peyton Hillis and all these kind of things, but no, he's the David Montgomery type back, which we've seen be effective in Detroit and score lots of touchdowns. He might not have the yardage, but he'll be the touchdown machine of the duo.
Dan, thoughts on if and when Scat takes over that RB2 role? Or 1B, as Aaron said?
Yeah, I think I can see him being utilised fairly early on in terms of, like Aaron said, as a potential pass catcher, and screens, third downs, even, and the fact that we've got Singletary and we've got Tracy, and now obviously we've got Cam as well. It's kind of like a three-headed, almost like a little monster there, and they can kind of like interchange them. And what we don't, obviously Tracy as RB1, cool, like first, second down, like he's going to be on the field, but we can also bring in Cam. We can bring in a Singletary as a dual threat weapon somewhere else in different types of plays. So I definitely think we'll see him on the field fairly early on. All depends on obviously camp and the preseason, but taking over the RB2 or 1B role from Singletary. I don't know. I don't know when we would be likely to see that. I think it all depends on how the season develops to start off with. I wouldn't be surprised if we see it earlier than later. But at the same time, let's not forget Devin Singletary is still there. He can still do the job. He's still a pretty good running back, and he only lost out the starting role to Tracy last year because of injury. And then obviously Tracy came in and did what he did, and the rest is history, sort of thing. So yeah, I think Singletary's still got a lot to give, and he could still potentially give that as well. So yeah, I don't know when it'll happen, but I think it won't be long until we see him on the field. Put it that way.
Do you guys then? What 1, 4, 3? I'll get Dan, Aaron, then Kevin do it in reverse. Do you guys think then that Cam is up against Singletary on the depth chart, or is he up against Eric Gray on the depth chart?
Initially, I think he's up against Eric Gray on the depth chart. Throughout obviously pre-season, and I'm fairly certain I think Eric Gray is probably going to be, if he's not already gone before then, I think he'll be gone come roster cutdown day. Obviously, there's likely to be some roster moves made in the coming days and weeks. I wouldn't be surprised if Eric Gray is one of them, because what we've seen of him has been very minimal over the last couple of years since he's been on the roster. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do see the back of him sooner rather than later. But if he is still on the roster, I tend to say that Cam will be above Eric Gray on the roster on the depth chart, and potentially looking at starting off the season to be fighting for that number 2 spot.
Yeah, I think he's that clear ahead. He clearly will be ahead of Eric Gray. I think the interesting dynamic that we'll have in training camp is our third string won't necessarily be a typical third string. If third string runs with Dart in the training camp, that's almost like the future offense string rather than necessarily a pure third string. So they might run him deliberately in the third string in training camp just so that we know that he's going to get familiar with Dart. That's going to bring both of them along together better. Or they might say, well, Singletary, actually, we want to put a veteran into that third string and know that we've got a good supporting member for Dart. But it'll be interesting to see what they do. But I think that's where we'll see a lot more in training camp.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that now. I think that Singletary's nailed on number 2 for now. And I think throughout training camp, it'll be like that. I think where you'll see him taking over the second role would be, like Dan says, in the season. So I think he'll start the season as a third string. Eric Gray will be off the team. I think Singletary is that sort of senior veteran in the room. Like you talk about the contract, I mean, he'd see out the second year, and it basically costs nothing to cut him at the end of this season. So I can definitely see Tracy 1, Singletary 2, and then Scatterboo third in the depth chart throughout all the off season and preseason. And as we get into the actual regular season, Scatterboo will start earning more second team reps with performances on the field.
Yeah, and obviously you got to think as well, like Eric Gray obviously predominantly spent most of his time last year with special teams. Did he really do much in the way of special teams? Not really. So obviously that's potentially somewhere that Scatterboo can be used in terms of the sort of punt return, kick return game that he can potentially show the team what he's capable of and get and earn his stripes that way. So yeah, I think as it stands, I definitely think Cam is a better prospect than Eric Gray is, because Eric Gray didn't really offer us or show us much over the last couple of years. So I wouldn't be surprised if he is either on the practice squad come end of camp, or is off the roster completely before camp begins. But that obviously remains to be seen. We'll find out more, no doubt, over the coming weeks or months or even days. Maybe might even happen sooner rather than later. Who knows? But yeah, so I think Scatterboo, he's got a future with his team, and I love it. And I think him and Tyrone Tracy, those two, the fact they're both still so young, the fact they're both late round draft picks as well, I love it, because you think back to the likes of Ahmad Bradshaw, Brandon Jacobs. Ahmad Bradshaw, 7th round draft pick, Brandon Jacobs, 4th round draft pick. Look what that turned into, and the last two David Wilson and Saquon, obviously taken both of them in the first round. David Wilson ended up retiring after a year because of injury, and look what happened with Saquon. So we've not got good history of picking a running back in the first round. Picking them later in the draft, we've got good history. So we hope to see a more productive duo out of these two than we saw out of David Wilson, even though Saquon was good. Moving on anyway, Cam Scatterboo in the books. Let's talk offensive line. And who better to go to the offensive line and talk about the offensive line than our resident guru? No, it's not Shane. Aaron, let's talk Marcus Bow. It's not Bo, it's Bow.
Yeah, so Bo, not Scatter, Bo, the tackle out of Purdue, 6'4", 303 pounds. So a little on the light side by NFL standards, but number 65 overall player on the kind of consensus big board. If you look back at what it was pre-draft, and we got him at 154. So one of the biggest values in the draft go in there. So and there were no known, like some of the players that we saw fall out of the first round had some notable red flags on them, some off the field stuff. I don't believe that's the case with Bo. I haven't seen anything reported like that. Injury seemed to check out as well. So I don't really know why the fall was there. I'll get into what my speculation is in a minute. He's a former teammate of Tyrone Tracy, and the second time the Giants go for a Boilermaker in the 5th round in back-to-back years. So Tracy was drafted the 5th round last year. Another Boilermaker joining us for the 5th year. So maybe we can see a trend developing there over time. And he has the capability of playing all 5 positions. So he's he's not a perfect fit for any one of the positions. And that might be why he fell, because he's almost like a positionless player. And we've seen in the NFL, particularly on the defense, some of these positionless players, they never really actually find a home. They're just in between all of the positions. Star for right guard in 2022 before moving to right tackle in 23, where he had an injury, came back in 2024, looked really good in 2024 at the right tackle. He's great footwork, first steps, movement, great mirroring, kind of speed and shielding people out. His hands are really, really good. He's got a number of different strikes with his hands to kind of throw players off balance. And then because of his former wrestler background as well, he's got a mean streak. He loves to finish people. So you quite often see him on top of people, taking them to the ground, away from the ball. He's got a really mean streak in him, which is really, really nice to have in an offensive lineman. The weaknesses, he's another short arm guy. So he's 33-inch arms, which is where he might struggle as a tackle in the NFL. So it's a challenge. It's always going to be a challenge. The other thing is his frame. I said he's 303, little bit light for an offensive lineman, but also he's light bottom half. He's not a big butt guy, right? So the challenge with that is he really does seem to struggle on tape with speed to power. So speed to power is when you kind of see your Trayvon Walker, like out of Jacksonville, who literally is going to try and run you over. He's got that runner up from a wide position, runs straight at you and trucks you. He doesn't have the the lower body weight to anchor. He's a good knee bender. He likes to get low, so he's great if it's a big guy up in front of him. Might struggle to move them because that lower body weight's missing. But he's got that kind of athletic archetype that you would think, well, maybe in an NFL weight room you can put some pounds on and we can get him out there. The Giants have said that they really want to take him as a tackle. They want to train him as a tackle. I think his floor in the NFL is going to be a swing tackle or anything, but I think he'll be a starter before the end of his rookie contract. We know Jermaine Illuminor's in a contract year, probably going to demand big money. It would be great if this is our next right tackle already in season, ready to go for next year. So I think that's really how I see Bo coming in. So I guess my question for you, Kev, is: do you think that Bo will benefit from having a redshirt season?
100%. I think what gets lost a lot of times with the NFL draft in general is that people want all these shiny new toys to play right now. And we've seen it in the past. Sometimes players need to mature in a playing ability that is not, personality. And they need time to sort of learn in the league. I think Joshi has done a fantastic job of filling a lot of holes in free agency, moving Evan Neal to right guard, bringing back Van Rotten to be a starter if needs be. So when we went into this draft, we weren't picking for need every single time. We were able to pick good players. Now, what that's allowed us to do is if Van Rotten or Neal wins out that guard job and Illuminor is there cemented as the right tackle, he has seen the tackle market go boom in this offseason. So he will want a piece of that, and I think he will seek free agency next year. Now, to bring someone like Marcus Bow in and allow him to mature and develop without sort of needing to start, as in, even if Illuminor goes down, we've brought in Forsyth, we've brought in Hudson, we've brought in like potential swing tackles that we don't need to play him before he's ready. Now, if he's ready, of course, play him. But for him to be able to sit and just learn without the nightmares of getting absolutely battered by some of the elite edge rushers in this league, I think is phenomenal. I think it'll help him and it will help us long term.
Shane, where would Bo sit in your kind of rankings? He was fairly high in your tackle rankings, right?
I had him at guard. I think I had him as guard 4, if I remember right. I mean, obviously, I've seen the comments from Dave saying that he's going to train right tackle. I think right tackle would be a bonus, but in all honesty, I'd rather just plug him at guard. To be honest with you, get him training there, get him familiar with that role, and just dedicate to that. But I know that Dave seems to have this kind of little bit of an obsession. I don't know if that's the right word to use, but for wanting to train O-line in every single position, and I can understand for the versatility, injuries happen, etc. And I think that's going to be key for Bo's development. He's, he benefit from a red shirt, but we always seem to have a few issues during the season with keeping O-line healthy, so that he might not even have the opportunity to red shirt, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I think we've also seen him, like I say, he's a 5-position guy, so there's always a chance that his future home may be centre as well. So there's always that option, and we're still not, JMS is still not cemented the centre position down. One thing that you do see on tape is Bo is smart. You see him come and pick up the right blitzer, or you see him come off and fade, and he really understands that offensive thing, and that's really, really important for the centre to be able to call out defenses, knowing what your other guys are going to do and know which is the free rusher coming in. So yeah, I think he's got a really good opportunity to potentially find his home somewhere in the middle of that line.
I mean, I'm surprised you like him, Kev, because he hasn't got a big butt.
I know, but he is athletic, and like Aaron's been saying, he is a very smart player. Technique is phenomenal. You worry about the arms and you worry about the speed to power guys. Of course you do. But no tackle is perfect. That's probably why he kind of slid to where we got him. But I just think, like what Aaron says, well, he is so smart as well. Like, watching him pick up stunts and stuff like that, or watch him pulling, he's just on it. He's a very clever, athletic player. He's a bit lean. I'd like a little bit more junk in there, but you can't have everything.
Yeah, I mean, you look at one of the, I mean, it pains me to say this, but one of the best offensive linemen of the last 10, 15 years in the NFL, Jason Kelsey, undersized, and look what he did. Look how phenomenal he was in the league. And I think, yeah, obviously size matters. Be careful. But at the same time, you know, if he's got the if he's got the potential and the ability to play all five positions, and he sits back and learns from the experienced guys up front, there's no reason why he can't succeed in this league. And you know, it again, not all good offensive linemen are picked in the high rounds. Look at Evan Neal, for example. I'm just
And
saying.
I will just add as well, like he's smart enough. Like center is kind of worst case. He's a starting center, worst case scenario, because all his limitations a center can kind of get away with, whereas guard and tackle is a little bit different. So I think he could be a starting tackle. I think he could be a starting guard. But I think like if he's unsuccessful there, I think worst case scenario he can definitely be a starting center in the league.
Yeah, man. And that, Aaron, is why we brought you in. Have we ever had a more detailed breakdown of an offensive lineman on this podcast? Shane, I think your crown and your torch has been truly taken away from you, my friend.
I'm absolutely devastated.
I'm sure you have. I'm sure you are. I'm sure you are.
Hey,
all right, then.
Who knew the tank train would end up with a new O-line guru at the end of it?
There you go, eh? There
At
you
end
go.
of the tank train, who knew it'd end up with a Penn State edge guy, a new quarterback, and a new O-line guru. I mean, talk about destinations.
I mean, we're not in a bad spot, are we? We're not in a bad spot.
Shout out to Mark as well for tuning. Mark Stewart always pops in to say salute to us. So, you know,
Evening, Mark. Afternoon, Mark.
Yeah, it's afternoon.
It's afternoon. Yeah, for sure. All right, then moving on to the 7th round. Shane, Thomas Fedone. Let's talk Thomas Fedone. Let's talk tight ends.
Not just Thomas Fedone. Thomas Fedone, the second. Don't forget the second. That's the important part. You know, Kev's going to be getting all gooey here. He's a tight end who's 6'5", 243 pounds. I mean, he's rubbing his hands. He's absolutely loving it. And he's out in Nebraska, which, you know, Nebraska's got a bit of a reputation for being, you know, hard-nosed, tough guys, which is what you want to see. Now, he was the country's top recruited tight end out of school and a top 40 recruit. He chose Nebraska over the likes of Iowa, tight end LSU, Michigan, and he even chose Nebraska over Penn State and Notre Dame. So, you know, that shows the kind of caliber that he was highly recruited in. Now, he did suffer a knee injury in 2021. Believe it was an ACL. Am I right in saying that, Kev? And he then tore the same ACL again the following year in 2022. He did finally get on the field in 2023, where he led the team with 4 touchdowns. Might not seem like a lot, but, you know, it still led the team and played in all 12 games. And then this past season, it continued to show the knee injury was behind him in 2024 when he ended the season with 36 receptions, 373 yards. Now, without a doubt, for me, I think Fedone fell due to the injury concerns. And I think what you can kind of put this down to in terms of the Giants draft pick is the Giants, number one, picking best player available on their board, and number two, kind of picking a player on traits. Like I say, you know, a 6'5", 243 pound tight end. He can block, he can move. Granted, he's not the greatest athlete. 2 ACLs might do that to you, unfortunately. But you know, he can still move. He's a consideration in the passing game as well. And I think you know, that size, that frame, he can block just as good. So, you know, without a doubt, I mean, I don't know where Kev had him on his board, but I'd have probably kind of seen him maybe a round 4 pick if he had not been injured, based on what he'd done at college. Kev, do you agree, disagree with that? I don't know where you had him.
I had him as a round 5 player. With the injuries. He would have been a lot higher without the injuries.
Yeah, and I guess did it? I know we've kind of spoke about this in the past in terms of me not putting players on my big boards due to previous injuries. Was he that far down for you because of the injuries? Because obviously 2 ACL, 1 ACL, you might turn around and say, okay, I can kind of overlook that a little bit. It's a bit of bad luck. When you have 2 and it's the same one, there's obviously some concerns the knees got weaker, etc.
Yeah, I mean, like one-off injuries, I'm fine with because it's not repeating. It's not like a chronic. It's not like a chronic problem. But when it's the same injury or same knee getting injured the same way, that is something that I will like pay attention to, and that'll affect my valuation. But like, I really like this pick though. I love this pick, and Mayo's going to like this pick. Mayo's going to love this pick because this guy's got 34-inch arms and big old 11-inch hands like catcher mitts. So he says. I mean, and his speed as well.
Yeah, he can play tackle. He's just too fast for it.
I mean, he's far too fast. If you look at like 4.7 40 for a tight end is phenomenal, and like you can see the speed when you watch him on tape. It's just when he tries to get in and out of his breaks, he's a little bit slower. But I think that's not.
I don't think he has agility. He's got speed, but not agility.
Yeah, but I think like, and part of it's like, is he just a bit tentative because of the knee? Is he? Yeah, 100%, 100%. So like, yeah, and like he used to be a wide receiver in high school, and you were saying as well, he was like coming out of high school, he was the highest graded tight end above Brock Bowers. Now I know that means nothing now, but I'm just saying like he has got sort of like pedigree. Do you know what I mean? And his drop rate, I made a note the other day, his drop rate was 2.7 and like percent, which for reference, anything under 4 is phenomenal, and like anything 8 and higher is like really inconsistent. So I mean, he just ticks a lot of boxes. It's that knee, but when you get to round 7, these are the type of punts that you can take on players who have something like that when his upside is so high, but there is that big risk factor for me. And obviously, the knee has hampered his production over the years. And I mean, I don't know, maybe he'll do a Giants tattoo on himself when he gets in the rookie minicamp.
Yeah,
I mean, go on, Dan.
Go on, Shane, go on.
No, go on, mate.
Like, James makes a good point. First game on MetLife turf, both ACLs are gone.
Oh man, don't even put that into existence. Like, let's not put it there.
But like, that the knee is a massive concern, though, right?
Yeah, look, I say especially when it's 2. If it's 1, you can kind of understand. Maybe I'll overlook it. When it's 2, the same one, it's something you have to sit up and take notice about. And like Kev says, I can understand why he's maybe a little bit unsure, maybe at times in terms of his agility. But the question I was going to ask you, Kev, the key thing for him is going to be staying fit, showing his injuries are behind him. And if he manages to do that, is there a real competition between him and Bellinger for tight end 2? Or is it an open competition for tight end 1 with Theo as well?
I think it's not an open competition for tight end 1 because I think Theo, in my opinion, is way ahead. And also he's been in the system for a year as well. So I think like Theo coming in this season, and just when we get on to the tight ends, we can talk about Theo. I have very, very, very high expectations from Theo Johnson this year. But just to touch on the question you asked, Bellinger's in the last year of his contract. And this regime hasn't shown a lot of love for Bellinger like this past couple of seasons. So 100% there's a spot there to be taken. I mean, like, they love Manhurst. They love him in the blocking. Dulcich is there, who's flashed in the past as well, who's a high draft pick. But there's definitely a path for Fedoni to come in here and prove that he can do something. I mean, like, he's a similar type of player to Johnson, but I think he's a better player. But Fedoni, I think, can come in and. Yeah, I think him and Bellinger will be so interesting to see because I still like Bellinger. We've always been high in Bellinger, but the regime just don't seem to fancy him.
He's never been the same since that eye injury against Jacksonville. But we'll come on to this more. But just one last question. I'll come to you, a bit of an ad hoc question. Could Danny B be a surprise cut candidate at the end of training camp? Obviously, it's too early to say in terms of. In terms of, you need to see what Fedoni can do on the field. He needs to prove he can stay fit, etc. But Mayo, I mean, is Danny Bellinger a potential cap casualty? Not a lock to make the 53. His contract's up at the end of the year, as Kev says.
Yeah, I think he's a sort of player that you would like to take it to the end of his rookie contract because of the what we've seen some other good teams do. Is see some of their first contracts guys get released, and then you get the comp picks for them. So you get that investment back. We've got a lot of tight ends on the roster. They're not all going to make the team. We've picked up a few people. it's a challenge. It wouldn't be surprised me. Not something I would want to see. Obviously, he scored the touchdown in London. And so that kind of memories of that kind of thing would be great to see him stay. But yeah, it's a meritocracy now on our squad. We're not, we are building with a young squad, and you've got to keep earning your stripes those reps. So it wouldn't surprise me.
Dan, would you be surprised to see Bellinger lose out the tight end too and potentially lose his roster spot?
It's disappointing, but no, I wouldn't be surprised if he lost his spot on the team. I think he could potentially be a roster casualty. Obviously it's way too early to even sort of predict that, I suppose. But you've got to look at it and think like, where does he fit? And obviously Theo Johnson, I think at the moment is the obvious tight end one. Bellinger, like you said, that since that eye injury, he's just not been the same player. Those first sort of 5-6 games of his rookie year, he was on fire. He was playing really, really well. He had that injury, and he's just not been the same player since then. And I don't know why. Like you said, the coaches and the team don't really seem to have that much love for him. If that's right, I don't know, but. I think one thing I forgot to mention earlier when we were talking about Giants life is when Abdul Carter was asked about Theo Johnson. He said there's unfinished business there. So what does that mean? Ooh, a little bit tasty. But yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised if Bellinger is off the team come end of training camp. As sad as it would be. Lastly, then, back to you, Aaron. Let's talk Corey Black, cornerback out of Oklahoma State.
Yeah, again, so 6 foot, 190, so kind of a good size for an outside corner. He's was the 215th overall player on the sort of consensus big board. We got him at 246. So again, a little bit of value there again. Described by Sean as a height, weight, speed prospect, which is a GM speak for we think he could play a bit better than what the tape shows. He's got the traits to be a better than what we've seen on tape. But in the 7th round, that's the type of place where you want to be taking that kind of risk. You don't want to be taking a risk on the height, weight, speed guy in the 1st round, right? You want to, we've seen that with Darius Hayward Bay and people like that in the past. It doesn't often work out. The fastest 40 time doesn't. Or if you look at the history of the fastest 40 time in the draft, they tend to go very early on day one, and they tend not to pan out. So yeah, a guy with these kind of athletic prospects is a good place. It's a good place to be taking them. Spent all 5 years at OSU and a starting boundary corner in the last 3 years. Asked to play a lot of sort of press man. He had 3 INTs and 9 PBUs this year. So he's a guy that gets his hands on the ball, quite aggressive. He also had 2 blocked field goals and returned one of those for a touchdown. So he's got some special teams value as well. 38 career starts. So he comes in with a lot of experience, despite being a 7th round guy. I said good size, elite speed. So he clocked 4.35 at the Big 12 Pro Day. So up there with one of the fastest guys coming out. And he's got a decent wingspan as well. So that comes up. So despite being 6 foot, he's got the ability to leap up and get the ball. Very physical at the point of the catch, and he tends to stay in phase quite well on the deep route. So he's a good kind of deep threat thing. He's very handsy though, so I think he got 13 penalties for kind of holding on pass interference. There's some inconsistency as well in his tape, so how he deals with it, maybe he switches off, I don't know. But he was beaten twice by Travis Hunter in the same game on double moves, and he's obviously Travis Hunter is a great receiver, right, coming out, but everyone in the NFL is a great receiver. So and he sometimes loses right on the jam on release. So playing press, kind of at the line, try to get your hands on the guy. If you miss that, then you're out of position. He's got a couple of that in his game as well. So needs to work on some of those kind of skills around there. So I think he's going to be a guy that's going to need some time to develop before we see him significant time on defense. But I think he'll feature heavily on special teams in 2025, and the has the traits to be a press man corner, which maybe is not Bowen's scheme, but again, you don't just draft for your scheme today in the 7th round. You just try and draft guys with prospects. Press man is always a useful trait to have. And again, with his ball skills, potentially he could find a home at free safety as well with speed and everything else. He's got that centre fielder kind of approach. So yeah, all in all, an interesting prospect. And Kev, do you think the right approach in round 7 is to take a swing on some of these height, weight, speed type prospects?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and also I had him in the 5th round. I didn't look at him until I saw he was a 30 visit, and then I went and watched him, and I really liked him. I mean, you talk about he has got those measurables and stuff again. He's still developing as a player. He's one of those players I think, like you said, he's good on special teams. He can see out all 4 years of his rookie contract, And also, when our awesome pass rush has teams on 3rd and long and 3rd and 13 and 3rd and 14, you want some decent long, fast man corners out there, to try and get off the field on 4th down. I like him. I think, he's one of those players that, he can give you a little bit. He can give you a lot in special teams, but I think he can give you a little bit on the field as well. I think he will take time to mature and develop. But yeah, I really like this pick. And I know I keep saying it about, I sound like such a homer, but all the picks are just make sense. I love it. Great value. Makes sense. I can see why you're picking these players. Whereas sometimes in the past I've had myself scratching my head with some of the picks, thinking I don't quite understand this. But the size, the speed, the traits, like you said, he just ticks a lot of boxes for day 7, for 7th round, day 3. So happy with the pick.
Nice, Corey Black. Done and dusted. Let's rock through these undrafted free agents then before we get cracking. So last week, obviously, we ran through them briefly. And the guys that we picked up, United scored again. Casemiro, come on. United are going to Bilbao. Up the fucking Reds. Kev gave us a rundown of his boy, Bo Collins, wide receiver out of Notre Dame. But the three of you have picked out 2 names from the list to go over quickly. So Kev, let's go to you first. Who have you got your eye on?
The first one I've got my eye on is Daquan Felton. Again, he's one player, he's from Virginia Tech. He's 24, a little bit older, 6'4" and a half, 214 pounds. He's a big-bodied possession receiver. Do you know what I mean? He's got over 33-inch arms. Mayo loves it. For 4.5 40 for his size is phenomenal. 1.52 10-yard split. I think he's a prototypical X size wide receiver, 50-50 balls type thing. He's got good contact balance. He's got decent release package. He runs like a big receiver though. He's not the most fluid player. And I want to see the hands better. I think he was only 23% on contested catches, and he had 12.4% drop rate over the last 2 seasons. That needs to get better. That's probably why he fell out of the draft and was an undrafted rookie. I think he had good stats in 2003. Was it 38 receptions for 667 yards, 8 touchdowns? But last season he only had 32 receptions for 360 yards. But I think that was a little bit down to quarterback play. They changed the scheme a bit as well. Kyron Drones, he wasn't great last season. For the whole season, he only threw for 1,500 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. I think he needs to be in a better system. He needs to be in a system where we throw more vertical routes, deeper balls thrown at him, Russell Wilson with that moon ball, is a perfect sort of thing for him. So I've gone for that for the wide receiver. For the cornerback, I've gone O'Donnell Fortune out of South Carolina, 24, a little bit older again, 6'1", 190. He's more of an off coverage zone cornerback. Thing that let him down the most was his 40 time absolutely killed his draft stock. 4.57 40 time. But actually watching him play, I think he'd be better as a safety. I think if he put on a little bit of weight and into a NFL's weight room, I think he could actually turn into quite a decent safety. Was he honourable mention All SEC this past season? He was the East and West Shrine Bowl defensive MVP. He's smooth. He's got really good in zone, not so good in man coverage, and he lays the wood. He looks to lay the wood, but that can lead to missed tackles and a little bit over aggressive. So I'd kind of see him as more converting into a safety, but just one sort of keep my eye on. And also the little fecker, he got an interception and returned it for 100 yards for a touchdown against Notre Dame in the Gator Bowl in 2022. So I'll be watching him now.
So that's why you're keeping your eye on him. Okay, I see how it is. Shane, two guys you've got your eye on.
Yeah, so my first one, he's wide receiver Dalen Cambray out of Louisiana. 5'11", 189 pounds. I know Kev's already like, nah, I don't want him on the squad whatsoever. Now, if you look at his college production, you'd be thinking, why have the Giants picked him up and why is Shane talking about him? In 6 years, he had 123 receiving yards and 0 touchdowns in 6 years. So it's a bit of an head scratcher. But the key area that means he has a shot at getting onto this 53 or even onto the practice squad is the one area an undrafted free agent needs to show their worth, and that's special teams. Now, Cambray is fielded both kick and punt returns, and he's a jack of all trades, as he's also been the holder for field goals and PATs as well. Very athletic player. He ran a 4.43 40 at his pro day. So he's got the speed to get down the field when he's on special teams. And that was evidenced in the past year when in 2024, he finished second in the nation for tackles on special teams. So, you know, for me, I think this regime showed in the past that they've got a little bit of a liking for special teams players. You know, he's someone that I think has got a chance to get on this roster purely as a special teams player. And then the second player I've chosen is DB or safety, Makari Page out of Michigan. 6 foot 397 pounds in 2024. He posted 30 tackles, 10 missed tackles, credited with 8 defensive stops with 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and 3 pass breakups. And he's an experienced safety out of Michigan. He's played in 38 games in the last 3 years, and all of his DCs at Michigan have had some form of NFL experience. Believe his first DC that he had went on to be the Ravens DC, and he's now the Seahawks head coach. The second DC he had, I believe, is the Chargers DC, and then the third DC, guy we might be fully aware of, known as the Tank Commander, Wink Martindale. So he's got an idea of how NFL schemes work, which is going to be important for him to have a shot at the roster. He's a little light at 197 pounds, but he can still play deep coverage, which he played 222 snaps at free safety this past season. But he can also come into the box as well and act as that bit of a blitzing player, a bit of a linebacker. 127 snaps he took in the box. Now, whilst we did splash money on Javon Holland in free agency, and is it just me that feels like that's forgotten about? And that was ages ago. Like Javon Holland, it just feels like it was months ago now. He's one of the players that kind of I forgot. I'm looking forward to seeing him on the field. And, you know, we have drafted Newbin in round 2 last year, and we've still got Dane Belton. The Giants might opt to go for 4 safeties. So that's 3 that I've named. And the other one is going to be possibly Makari Page, Anthony Johnson Jr., and Raheem Lane. Potentially, O'Donnell Fortune could compete for a safety spot, who Kev just spoke about as well. So, you know, Cambray for his special teams plays and Makari Page for the depth of safety.
The
Nice.
safety position's wide open, though, isn't it? Like, that sort of 4th safety position, like, no one, you can't pencil anyone in there yet. It's wide open.
Nice. And last but not least, Aaron, your 2 players you're looking out for.
Yeah, so I've gone for the 2 guys coming in from Ole Miss along with Jackson Dart. So yeah, we're starting that Ole Miss North team. You know, we used to get called the Bills South now, when they can be the Ole Miss North. So Antoine Juice Wells Jr. Was one of the targets that Jackson Dart, I think, threw 6 touchdowns to this year. Had an average of 19.6 yards per reception, but his total yardage wasn't where it had been in previous years. It broke out at James Madison in 2021, losing the FCS championship to North Dakota State. Transferred to South Carolina, where he was Spencer Rattler's top target in 2022 before being injured in 2023. Transferred to Ole Miss to play with Jackson Dart. He's a good-sized wide receiver with average speed, but he has great contact balance. So what you quite often see is him snagging a pass, a good kind of first step to get himself a bit of space and getting some more yards after the catch. He's a yards after the catch. And says none of these receivers that catch the ball and fall down. He's a guy that does a lot of his work after the catch, but downfield, not just on screens as well. So interesting spot how he'll come in. Obviously, I think there's a bit of a strategy here, and with Reese McIntyre to give Jackson Dart some friends to acclimatise with on that third string. But a guy that I think probably will be destined on the practice squad because he doesn't have a special teams place. But with the way that you can have your elevations, if there's an injuries to guys, I mean, if I can sort of see him playing on outside, allowing, if we have an injury to Wandale and we want to play Neighbours more in the slot, because I think, that's a really good place for him. See what CD Lamb does in Dallas out of the slot. There's a lot of damage out of there. He's the sort of guy that you would want to come in and be your X receiver. As a kind of elevation, I think probably is his future for this year. And then Reese McIntyre, he's a 6-year super senior, so he spent all of his career at Ole Miss. He only had 4 starts prior to this year. Played in a lot of special teams, was on all the special teams units, so was a part of the field goal crew and all that kind of stuff. But started every game at centre this year. He was regularly rolled out as in press conferences as a kind of representative for the team. He's got that kind of leadership quality. Again, I'd expect him to go straight in as the third string centre with that dart in training camp. He has got some because of experience, and he's quite a big guy. He's like 6'4", 330. He's kind of that kind of good size that you want to see. I could see him being a guy again on the practice squad that might get some elevations to see it, but it's probably a very extremely outside chance of making the roster. But it's clear, I think the strategy is to just help Dart be as comfortable to develop him early in the season.
Yeah, and who better to have than your centre and one of your wide receivers, right?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely. And also, he dead ball snaps the same way JMS does as well, which is always handy. I think, both of those are great shots, especially the Wells. I think Wells is actually a bit of an underrated player. I think he's got a lot more to give, I think, in the NFL. He's really savvy the way he runs his routes. He's not the quickest. He doesn't excel in all the things. He's just kind of good at everything. The contact balance thing is a great shot because when you see him, he moves just enough that the defenders don't get a clean hit on him. They kind of brush on him, and he gets that extra couple of yards after contact, which is phenomenal. Why not make your future QB a bit more comfortable in his first training camp, bringing in a solid weapon he has timing with and a center he's been used to all this season?
Yeah, and he snaps the ball the same as our starting centre JMS as well. So, it's a win-win all round, really. Nice. Cheers, boys. 6 names to look out for there. And we'll see how they get on during camp and rookie mini camp and where they end up.
Surely one of us has got a hit.
I mean, you would expect at least one of them to hit somewhere.
But I'll tell you what, the Giants, tell me you wanted a wide receiver without telling me you wanted a wide receiver. They just really went the undrafted route, didn't they? Because just one, but that's a good reason. They didn't reach for one. They played their board and took the best player available at each spot, and then they brought in some rookies. And you never know. Someone like Gabe Davis might be brought in, on a cheap deal to sort of bolster that wide receiver room.
Yeah, it's very true. Gabe Davis is one of those names that's been floated around, isn't he? So it's definitely a potential there. And United scored again, and we're off to Bilbao. Get in 2 weeks' time. Come on, it's going to be as James said, it's going to be the lowest quality European final in history. 15th against 16th in the Premier League. Come on, love it. But yeah, watch out for those names during rookie mini camps and during training camp as well. Likely to see a couple, 1, 2, maybe more of them on the practice squad come the end of camp and then going into the season. You never know, might see one of them might make an even more of an impression and get a spot on the roster. Unlikely, but never know. Unfortunately, though, that is all we've got time for this evening. We'll be back next Thursday as we break down the 2025 schedule, which is released less than 24 hours before we go live on Wednesday. So make sure you tune into that one. Anything to add before we go, guys?
Just a good way to kind of, put a lid on the draft season. This is the last time there we're going to be talking about kind of the draft in any kind of context. All being well, we're not going to be talking about 2026 draft until at least October.
I was just about to say end of September, beginning of October, Shane.
But yeah, it's been
February, first week of February.
When we were in, I was thinking 32.
Yeah, that's what I said. Someone posted out how we only had 5 draft picks next year, and I said, well, you can always get a good value for trading down from the 32 spot.
Yeah, exactly. So it's been a tough few months, to be fair. A lot of tape watching, a lot of Canva working and spreadsheets and all sorts of numbers and that. But kind of last season's in the window now. The draft's in the window now. We'll start looking to the future with future episodes.
Yeah, definitely. The draft stuff's been phenomenal. Now we know the players we've got. We've researched them. We've watched them. We've talked about them now. Rookie minicamp starts tomorrow, so we'll hear from them. And I'm really looking forward to this off season to try and sort of build this new roster going forward. And what a way to start off this off season with building our own roster here. We're bringing in Aaron as well. I mean, just makes us stronger, as a unit. And I'm just so pleased to have you on, Aaron, because every time you've come on, you've hit it out of the park. You've been phenomenal with your takes. You kind of on the same wavelength as all of us, and you're not a bad bloke either. So I'll give you that.
Well, I just got to spend the next couple of weeks picking what jersey number I'm going to wear. I don't know if you guys have got any retired numbers that I can go for. I'll just beg for that. Even though there's loads of other numbers I could pick, I'll just ask for the ones that are retired.
I don't think we have any retired numbers yet, so take your pick. Do we have a jersey number each? I don't know. We don't actually have jersey numbers each, do we? Maybe that's something we need to do.
Not yet.
Yeah. Not yet. Maybe that's something we need to do. I like that. But now, Aaron, good to have you on board, my friend. It's been a good evening. Hope you've enjoyed your first foray into podcasting. Well, your first proper foray into podcasting. And yeah, look forward to obviously having you on throughout the off season and into the regular season as well, and into the future. So really appreciate it, my friend.
Thank you, and most importantly, let's go Giants.
Absolutely, let's go Giants. Check out our socials for all the latest news. Follow the links in the description to find where we're at. Give this episode a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like I said at the beginning. Hit the bell to be notified on when we go live. To everyone in the comments for this evening, thank you for getting involved, and thank you for watching along. To those listening, appreciate you tuning in and listening. My thanks as ever go to Shane and to Kev, and for the first time to Aaron for joining me. We are signing off until next time. Let's go New York Giants.